they do 2? Or is it always in the
last year? Oh, no. Yeah, last year they did.
And it was in the spring,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
But this time it's different. I'm coaching.
Interesting. Wow.
I would have, well, no, because I would have coached this year, but like.
Would have loved to see you as a cheerleader. Yeah. You're what? Oh, that's fun.
Cheering. Yeah, you'll see me cheer on the sideline when we win. Oh. Oh no.
Zane, you need to check that.
No.
No. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm sure people. It's like.
Bobo C.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought there was.
All right. Okay, so plan for you guys is that we're reviewing today. You're testing on Friday. Okay, so for your test, it's going to cover rationals, which is what we've been doing for the last 4 days of notes and homework. So let's just hit maybe 1 or 2 from each section, and then you'll have the rest of the class to finish. Okay, starting with number 2, what type of factoring is that? AC chart, very good. So A, B, C. Okay, remember air conditioner at the top. 2 times -5 is -10. Your basement number is a 9. Okay, then remember we want to list all of our possible partners. So I could do 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. Now remember, if the top of the chart is a minus, that means this is a subtract chart. So if I want my numbers to subtract to 9, who am I going to pick? And when I put the minus, if I want to keep my 9 in the middle as a positive 9, then I want to make sure to put the minus on the 1. Now remember, if your A is a 1, you're done. That your answer would be x minus 1 and x plus 10. That is not the case here because your A is not a 1. What is my A instead? What number is my A? A 2, then you have to divide and slide over 2. So I'm going to put my 2 here. Remember, one of them should divide all the way. The other one you should be able to slide to the front. So this is going to be my slide. And then 10 divided by 2 would go to x plus 5. Now, if it asks you to solve, okay, then remember you want to give me x equals answers. So if it's an x plus 5, what would the answer be for that? X equals -5. And then if it's a 2x minus 1, you would switch the -1 to a +1. And then don't forget to slide the 2 back down. So your answer would be +1/2 and then -5. Okay? All right, let's do one more from this section. Let's do number 3. What type of factoring could you do on number 3? GCF is correct. What can those both divide by? 4. So then my 4 would come to the front. My 16x would now be a what? Okay, and my 12 would now be a 3. Now remember, only x's give you answers. So if this 4 out here had an x on the outside, remember an x on the outside means 0. But if it's just a 4, you don't get an answer from that. And then for my 4x minus 3, I'll get an answer from this one. The -3 turns to a +3, then slide the 4 back down. So it'd be 3/4. Okay? All right, for the majority of your test, okay, let me just relax your anxiety a little bit. That you're not going to have to do 6 of these long graphs. Okay, that's not what your test is. Your test is mostly questions like this, where you're going to be filling in the blanks on the same 5 things over and over again. So let's do number 6. Okay, first question. For a horizontal asymptote, I use my Bobo Bottom Betsy rules. What type is number 6? A Bobo, a Bottom, or a Betsy? Okay, it is a Betsy. And if it's a Betsy, that stands for both equal because they're both x squareds, then you divide the coefficients. So I'm going to divide 3 by 1. What is 3 divided by 1? 3. So most of your tests, you're not having to also do the graph at the same time. So 3 would be the answer for that. Okay, everything else you're going to have to factor. So let's start with the top. These are both AC charts. So if I do ABC on the top, ABC, my AC or air conditioner is 3 times 2, that's a 6. My basement number is a 5. So 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. But if my AC is positive, remember this is an addition chart. So which of those add to 5? 2 and 3. So it'll be an x plus 2 and an x plus 3. Will I need to divide and slide? If your A is a 1, you're done. Is my A a 1? What's my A? If it's a 3, you have to divide and slide. So I'm going to put my 3 here on bottom. And then I see that the first one, I'm going to slide the 3, but 3 divided by 3, that'll go to a 1. So I'll have a 3x plus 2 and an x plus 1. That is the top after I've done the divide and slide step. Okay? All right, now let's do the bottom. So it's still an AC chart, ABC. I need numbers that are going to AC or multiply to a 2 and add to a 3. 1 and 2, perfect. Okay, and those are my only choices because that's the only thing that times to 2 anyways. So we're going to do x plus 1, x plus 2. Will I need to divide and slide on this one? No, because if your A is a 1, you're done, right? And for the bottom, my A was a 1. All right, so looking at your factors, what's going to cross out? And if plus 1's cross out, what feature am I going to find at -1? Holes, very good. So the plus 1's cross out, then there's going to be a hole at -1 comma something. Vertical asymptotes come from x's left over on the bottom. Do I have one? +2, then I'm going to switch it to a -2. Roots and x-intercepts are the same thing. I'm going to relabel that as an x-intercept because that's what your homework called it. But you should know that those are the same. X-intercepts come from the top x's. So remember that if I have a +2, I'm going to switch it to a -2, but then divide by what? 3. So it'd be x equals -2 over 3. Okay, then for the y-intercept, remember that's always the 0 partner, and you can just look it up in the chart. So on the calculator that you should have picked up today, we're looking up 2 partners. We need the partner for the whole at -1, and we need the partner for 0. When you type into your calculator, do not include the parts that crossed out. So on top, you're putting a 3x plus 2. On bottom, you're putting an x plus 2. Okay, but the plus 1's, those are gone. And then remember, second graph to pull up your table. Okay? So we're looking for -1's partner. Anybody have it? -1 goes with -1. And what does 0 go with? 1. Okay? So most of your tests, you're just answering questions. You're not having to do a whole graph. All right, when you're ready, go ahead and turn the page. Okay, so the easier part of your test should be writing equations where they just either give you a picture or list the characteristics. Let's do number 7. Okay, so it asks you to write an equation, so put y equals, and then we know that a rational is a big fraction. If I want to have a hole in the graph at +2, what would my parentheses have to say? X minus 2, and for it to be a hole, would it go top, bottom, or both? Both. So -2 and -2. Okay, remember holes have to be on both. Second thing I want is an x-intercept. Are those top or bottom? Top. And if I want to root at 0, do you remember you put the x on the outside? So put an x on the outside on top. Then it says that I want a double root at 5. So I'm going to do x minus 5. And then remember the double means you can either write it twice or put a squared. Vertical asymptotes come from x's on the bottom. So if I want one at -2, my vertical asymptote would be an x plus 2. And then remember that if it's a fraction like 3/5, the 3 you would turn to a -3, and then the 5 you would have to slide to the front. So what that says, I had to kind of squeeze the 5 in, is 5x minus 3. Okay. Then the horizontal asymptote on this one, this is actually a mistake on my part, but it says it should be 0. In order for it to be 0, it'd have to be a Bobo, a Botan, or a Betsy. For it to be 0 is the answer.
No.
It would have to be a Bobo. And are there more X's on the bottom? No. So change this to be a none. Okay, now quick question. Why do I know that this isn't a Bobo? Because let's count the X's on the bottom. How many X's do I have on bottom? Only 3. But on top, I have 4. Because remember, a double counts twice. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then this is a Botan. Then my horizontal asymptote should be none. Okay? All right, next ones, you're finding horizontal and slant asymptotes. Remember, for horizontal asymptotes, you're just doing Bobo, Botan, Betsy. So I'll let you do those on your own. Bobo, Botan, Betsy. Okay, and then the last thing that we learned how to find last class was a slant asymptote. Remember, you're only going to have a slant if the top is 1 bigger than the bottom. So it has to be a Botan, and it has to be a Botan by exactly 1. So looking at, let's say, letter B, is that a Botan? Yes or no? Yes. Is it a Botan by 1? No. What's the top X? X3, but the bottom is a regular X. That's too big. So I'm going to put top is X3, but bottom is a regular X. Okay, remember, they can only be different by a power of 1. So if the top is a 3, the bottom would have to be an X2 for it to have a slant. Now, where is the top in X3 and the bottom in X2? Out of the other 2 questions. Which one is an X3 over X2? A or C? C. So let's do C. Okay, I know that I'm going to have a slant. In order for me to find it, you're doing long division. This is what we learned last class. So I'm going to do X3 minus 3x squared minus 4x. I'm going to divide that by x squared minus 4x. First question, what would I have to multiply my regular x squared by to turn it into an x cubed? X on top. X times x squared is x cubed. X times minus 4x is a minus 4x squared. What do I do with the signs on that row before I add? flip them, so minus plus. Remember, x3 minus x3 is going to cross out. I have a negative 3x squared and a plus 4x squared. How many am I going to pull down? 1. 1x squared minus 4x. Then I would ask myself again, what would I times my x squared by to perfectly match a 1x squared plus 1? And then you're done. Because remember, you don't actually need the remainder. Okay, you could keep going, but the answer is this part here on the top. So your slant asymptote would be y equals x plus 1. Okay? And remember, someone asked in the other class, is it always just 2 rounds of long division? Yes, because that's what it would take to make a line, is an mx and a b. Okay? All right, go ahead and turn the page. Okay, we'll do number 10. Can you tell me on this graph where the hole is for number 10? Give me the x.
4.
It is at 4. So under hole, put x equals 4. And then to write the equation, I know that I'm going to have an x minus 4. What part of the fraction does it go in? Top, bottom, or both for a whole? Both. So minus 4 minus 4. Okay, next question. I want a vertical asymptote. Now, this one isn't super clearly labeled, but will you draw it in that it's right here? Okay, that's where your graph can't cross. What x is that yellow line at that my graph can't touch? X equals 1. Very good. And if I can't touch 1, then I need an x minus 1 on the bottom only. Okay, next thing that I'm looking for is an x-intercept. Okay, this one is also not super clearly drawn, but do you see where it says 10, 0 here? So that's telling you that there is a dot at 10, 0. So that means my x-intercept happens at 10. So I'm going to put x equals 10. And then what will my parentheses say? Minus 10, and it'll go on the top. Okay, look at your graph for the y-intercept. Where does it cross the y-axis at? It's also labeled with a point. 0, 2. Okay, remember the y-intercept is always the 0 partner, so you can just kind of look in the middle of the graph. Okay, the last thing that I want is the horizontal asymptote. Okay, and for your test, I'll make sure that this is a whole number. But for this graph, do you see the dotted line that they drew in right here? How high does it say that it is? Can you read it right here? 0.2. Okay, so in your calculator, will you turn 0.2 into a decimal? Do you know how to do that? So in your calculator, just go into your regular screen. You're going to do 0.2.
Give it to a fraction.
Yeah, and then math, enter, and it'll turn it into a fraction.
1/5.
1/5. Very good. And then remember, in order for it to be 1/5, you got it? Okay. You need a 1 on top and a 5 on bottom. So put y equals 1/5. And then put a 1 on top and a 5 on bottom. Okay, because remember, in order for a 5th to be the horizontal asymptote, it would have to be a bed C that divides to that in the front. Okay? Questions on that? All right, you have 4 graphs left, so let's do maybe,
Oh, I think that's.
let's do number 13.
Did you know how you did like on the last hole?
Uh-huh.
We wrote it like this. How do you know? Like, is it like when you have it? Or it doesn't matter?
What do you mean? Oh, you mean to write the whole ordered
Yeah.
pair? Your test is multiple choice. So I would say if you're writing it out yourself, then you'll write the whole point. But if it's multiple choice, it'll probably just be a X. Yeah. All right, take a look at number 13 on the back. First question, Bobo, Botan, or Betsy? 13 is a bed C. Okay, because it's an 8x squared over a what x squared? What number would go there? A 1. So I'm going to divide 8 by 1, and 8 divided by 1 is 8. Okay, on your graph, I want you to draw in a flat line at 8. So 8 would be here. We're just doing our best. Okay, it's not a perfect graph. Okay, but y equals 8 would be right there. Every other feature, you have to know how to factor to be able to find it. So let's start with the top. Remember, you should always check for a GCF first. Is there anything I can divide out of the top? Bigger than 4. An 8, yeah. So it'd be 8 parentheses. My 8x squared is now just an x squared. My 8 divided by 8 would leave me with a 1. Now, that's not done yet. I can still perfect squares that. What's the square root of x squared? X and x. What's the square root of 1? Plus or minus 1. So that's going to break down to an x plus 1 and an x minus 1 with a regular 8 in the front. Okay, take a look at the bottom. What type of factoring will I do on the bottom? AC chart. So I need numbers that will multiply to an AC of -3 and that will add to a B of -2. How can I times to get 3? Only one partner. Okay, 1 times 3, yep. And then if I want to keep my 2 on the bottom, a -2, I need to put the minus on the bigger number. So it's going to be an x with a +1 and an x with a -3. Okay. Now we're ready to answer the rest of our questions via fill in the blank. So I'm looking for something to cross out for the holes. What will cross out? Okay, +1s. And that means the hole is going to be at -1 or -1 comma something. Okay, and I'll go back and find that later. My vertical asymptote is an x left on the bottom. What x is left on the bottom? -3, so I'll change it to a +3. And then remember, I can graph that one right now. So go to 3, draw in your line just like that. Now notice, why can't I do the whole right now? Because I don't have like the second part of it, right? So I can't graph that until I go to my calculator. X-intercepts, or x is left on top. Do I have one? I have a -1, so it's going to go to a +1. I can graph that right now. And then remember that the y-intercept is the 0 partner, which I'll have to look up in the calculator. All right, so all that I need you to do right now is find these 2 partners, the partner for the whole at -1 and the partner for 0. Okay, remember in your calculator, you're not typing the parts that crossed out. So I want an 8x -1 on top and an x -3 on bottom. And then we'll just look up those partners. Okay, remember, if it gives you a fraction and you're having to graph it, it'd be easier if you turn it into a decimal. So -1 goes with 4. And then 0 goes with 8/3. Now, the -1, 4, I can go ahead and graph that right now. So go to -1 for your x, 4 for your y, draw a hole. Remember, that pixel on the graph is going to get skipped. And then for 0, 8/3, if you don't know what 8/3 is, you can just divide it out. So 8 divided by 3 is the same as 2.6. So I'm going to go to a little bit above 2 and then draw it in right there. Okay, then from there, to connect your picture, you're welcome to hit graph. Okay, or you can just kind of tell that it's going to be like this because it has to go through your dots. Okay. If your calculator looks like mine, it's just because you're too zoomed in. So your window ends at 10 on the calculator, but if you hit zoom out, then you'll be able to see this top part as well. Okay?
Yes.
Good on that? All right. Maybe we'll just do one more. Maybe 11. And then you'll just have, we did 2, and then you'll have 2 left. Let's do 11. First question, Bobo, Botan, or Betsy? It is a Bobo. Okay, because it's a regular X on top, but it's an X squared on bottom. So that means that the ends of the graph are going to curve out to 0. So go ahead and draw that flat line in. 0 would be here. Every other feature you got to be able to factor to find. So I'm looking at the top. It's just an X plus 5. That's done. Okay, but for the bottom, I see that I will have to factor that via what method? AC chart. I need numbers that multiply to -10 and have a difference of 3. So what will times to 10 and minus to 3? 5 and 2, perfect. Now, where should I put the minus if I want to keep my 3 positive? On the smaller one on the 2. So it'll be an X plus 5 and an X minus 2. Okay, what's going to cross out to leave a hole in the graph? Plus 5s are gone. That means that the hole will be at -5 or -5 comma something. Vertical asymptotes or X's left on bottom. Do I have one? Do I have an X left on bottom? Yep, and it's a -2, so it'll happen at +2. Go ahead and draw that one in. 2 would be here. My x-intercepts are x's left on top. Do I have an x left on top? No, now I had an x on top, but it's gone. Also, real quick, what do you need to leave on top as a placeholder if the only thing that was up there crossed out? You need to leave a 1. So remember, you have to leave something on top, leave a 1 there. Okay, but I'm going to have none for x-intercepts because I didn't have any x's stay on top.
Same goes for the bottom.
Uh-huh. Okay, then your y-intercept is the 0 partner. You can look that up in the calculator. But remember, if part of your fraction is gone, you have to leave something there or it is not going to give you the right stuff. So 1 on top, x minus 2 on bottom. My 0 partner is -0.5. And my -5 partner is -1/7. Okay, then let's just add those to our picture and then connect the dots. So the whole is at -5, -1/7. Okay, and our graph is kind of too small for us to be very specific. Okay, but 1/7, that's like 0.2-ish. And then 1/2 would be half a box, so like right here. And then remember, your graph is always pretty much going to be cut into 2 pieces, one of them here and one of them. Okay. Y'all have any questions? Okay, one other thing I want to tell you for your test is that on the day of your test, you know how normally we do like 10, 15 minutes for you to look at your review? Okay, you are not going to have those minutes next time because you're gonna turn in your test review, and then we're gonna do a warm-up together that you'll be able to use on the test. So the reason I'm telling you that is that you won't have time to scribble down stuff for 15 minutes. We're gonna do a warm-up that you get to use. And that should help you to not have to memorize what everything is, but make sure your review is finished before class so that you don't have to take the 10 points off and turn it in later. Okay? All right, you can do it. Ask me if you need help.
Okay.